Background checks for internship. So in this video we're going to go over state and county local resources the public has available to do background checks, and for this video we're going to focus on internship type of background checks. So if you go to sheriffsdepartment.net, you'll have access to local official resources from all 50 states, and I'm going to go ahead and select a random one. Let's do state of Arizona. Most states will have very similar procedure, so some states do make it slightly more difficult, but overall it's going to be very similar. So you have your essentials when it comes to background checks. You have your court records, you have your criminal records, depending on what the background check is for. Maybe driving records need to be looked at, business lookup if somebody's business needs to be verified, or a license, some kind of professional license needs to be verified. Each state has a database for that also. Incarceration records, and of course the Sexual Offender Registry. And at the local level, at the county level, you're able to look at property records, arrests, mugshots, and court records. In some instances, a state will give you a statewide database that you can look at, but it might not necessarily cover all the counties, or sometimes they won't even have a statewide check, so you'll have to do it at the county level. And so in the case of Arizona, they do have a statewide database, but a couple of counties are not included. So and so we break all this information down for you. If you just come down and look into it, you'll be able to find whether it's at the state level or at the county level. You'll be able to locate these court records. Let's take a look at some of the crucial record types that people usually look up when it comes to internships or whatever it may be. Criminal records happen to be the most sought after, and in the case of Arizona, and every state will have something similar. Either the Department of Public and Safety will run it, or the state troopers might run it. They'll have some kind of a service where you can get an official criminal history check within the state, and sometimes an option to do an FBI check, which covers criminal records. They have an FBI has a nationwide database that can be done in addition to the state check. So as you can see in here, they have options for employment specific checks. You can also do fingerprint checks. You have the national check / clearance addition here, and then people are also able to look at their own criminal records if they would like to. The next thing to look at would be court records, and most states will, if any time, so you're able to look at civil records and criminal records. Civil records could include any kind of financial dealings that ended up going to court, and then criminal records, anytime somebody gets in front of a judge for whether it's a speeding ticket or a felony, they'll have to show up in front of the judge. As soon as that happens, it turns into a record, and court records are considered public records in most instances, unless it's something significant and they don't want to release information. But in most instances, you're able to look at both civil and criminal through the court system. And so whether it's done through the state or through the county, depending on the state, you're able to do that. Some other databases to consider would be prison records, and then the Sexual Offender Registry. Prison records, these would be people that go to prison. They're typically serving a sentence that's over a year, so these are going to be your more significant crimes. If somebody gets a sentence that's under a year, they're typically going to stay at like a county jail, and these are going to be less significant, or maybe like first-time offenses. So you do have two different databases when it comes to jail and prison records. And so every state will offer you a prison check. And if you want to look at jail records, you'll have to go to the Sheriff's Department to do that. And then every state also has a sex offender registry, and you're able to take a look at research sex offenders, usually by name. There's an option to do it by name, and sometimes the local county sheriff's office will also run their own databases. So this is a quick overview of what's available through the state, through the county, to do background checks. We have specific pages for background checks, criminal records, court records, inmate search, vital information, and warrant search. I'll go ahead and drop a link in the description, or you can just type sheriffsdepartment.net in your browser and get started.